Mr. Mayor, please give us the invocation. Sir.
Sure, let's all bow our heads. Lord, we just thank you for another beautiful day that you've granted us. Lord, we thank you for the blessings that this county has given us, Lord, and the citizens that we get to serve. Father, I count it a blessing every day to serve you. And Lord, right now we pray for this meeting, Lord. We pray for wisdom upon everyone, that we have good civil conversation, that we're productive. And Lord, pray all this in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I think we only have one speaker. Oh, actually, apologize. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have one person, Mr. Pomeroy, just before we get going here, Mr. Pomeroy noted to me today that he was not going to be able to make it today, so he will be absent. Recognition of the public, I think we have a new speaker who's never spoken to us before.
Glory be.
Mr. Kevin Baker.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
424.
Yeah, Kevin Baker, 424 AB Wade Road, Portland, Tennessee. The first thing, and this is gonna sound really trivial, but I was looking at the circuit court judge, $17.06 for compensatory time. Now you look at the sheet and it says straight time, overtime, pay for an employee. And you know what that signals to me? We potentially have an issue here between what I would call exempt versus non-exempt workers. And I mean, who's getting overtime, but it's just straight time? And I don't know if anybody's looked into this, but you ought to look into it and maybe clarify some things, because I think some of these people are maybe, a little not following the rules. But anyhow, the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and again, this is maybe water under the bridge, but on the election cycle, or the election commission, I see a chain of emails here where the committee agreed to reduce the following lines and blah, 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 blah. Data processing services, they're gonna reduce it by $50,000. I've always been under the impression our voting machines aren't connected to the internet. If they're not connected to the internet, why do we need data services? To me, that sounds like somebody's manipulating the data, but anyhow, I just was looking at some things and wanted to bring it to your attention. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Excuse me, to approve the minutes.
Yeah, I know what you meant. So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
I'll abstain.
we have one abstention, Ms. Bergwald. Okay, I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
No report, Mr. Chairman.
All righty, Mr. Long, your report, sir.
Item A is just the memorandum saying that the financial statements will be available at the county commission, and there will be copies for anybody who would like to have a copy. Item 2 is the revenue monitoring, and we passed them out to get the most up-to-date information today, and it looks like this. You have 3 items that was passed out to you after your packet. They shouldn't be in your packet. One of them looks just like this. One looks very similar, so it's to do with the school revenues.
Yes.
It has, yes, sir. The first page just shows the distribution of the revenues that are budgeted for your local taxes between the county school and the various funds. Page number 2 represents how I would re-project the revenues today versus budget. If we re-projected all of them countywide out of 236 some odd $million, you would bring an additional $4 million, or a little over 1%. These are conservative numbers. The first number, for instance, property tax does include all the appeals right now. The actual revenue amount, we do not think by any means of imagination we're going to lose those. There's about $1.6 million is their best estimate at the state board right now. The rest of the revenues had various variances up and down. Your largest surplus is in sales tax, because we always budget it rather conservative because we don't know what the economy's going to look like 12 months out. Does anybody have any questions about any individual line items?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just in general, not a line item, but is that 4 million, you said that's conservative, or was just that one line item?
4 million is countywide out of the let's see what the actual budget was. You added the $236 million, $4 million of that is excess over budget, which is below
But is that,
1%.
but is that a conservative estimate between now and the end of?
Yes, sir. We think it'll bring in more than
That's on you.
$4 million.
Next, sir.
So what you're saying there is, if we continue at current trend,
We'll bring more than that.
we'll bring in more than this.
I took the trends and in several instances
Yeah.
brought them down because of uncertainty. The closer we get toward the end of the year, the less
Yeah.
uncertainty, the higher we'll go. Yes, we do account for uncertainty as much as we can. Next one is the transfers, and if you want me to talk about what, just to answer the question of what overtime at regular rate means,
Yeah, go ahead, that would be helpful. Given the comments earlier.
most of our policies say that we go by the wage and hours worked. So that means you earn time and a half if you are a non-exempt employee for hours worked over 40 hours. So that means, for instance, if you have an 8-hour holiday for 8 hours and you work 4 extra hours, you're gonna get paid for 44 hours, but the extra 4 hours are gonna be at regular rate because you physically didn't work in the office 40 hours. That's what we mean by that. So if you actually did not have a holiday and you worked the 44 hours, it'd be a time and a half. So we do note those for informational purposes, if that makes sense.
Motion group approve 1A through D.
I have one question follow up on that.
Go ahead.
Mr. Long, can you explain to us what an exempt employee is and how many we have in the county?
The exempt employees would have to meet one of
Just
the
so
exemptions.
we're good here, I'll second your motion, just so we're in order. Go ahead.
They would have to be a professional, administrative, a highly compensated computer. They'd have to meet one of the actual exemptions in the Fair Labor Standards Act. We have several that could potentially fit that, but the way our current personnel policy is written, other than department heads, the vast majority of your employees are treated as non-exempt employees. We have some professionals, such as the county engineer, the assistant county attorney, that are treated as professionals besides the department head, but by and large, they are not. And before we start changing the classifications, we'd probably want to look at this very closely.
All right, we have a motion on the floor, group and approve, C, just to make sure I understand, C1, A through D, is that correct? Correct. And I've seconded it. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item C2 is the non-salary transfers, and I did not see anything that was out of the
Motion
ordinary.
approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Item 3 was a email from Mr. Klein requesting that updated and departments that didn't send them last year send org charts with their budget request. If the committee so wishes and motions, and we'll send out an email tomorrow.
Let's take your, just,
That was item 3 in our report. That's discussed in our report.
that's fine. I mean,
It's a report issue, so.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I don't tend to make motions in another committee, but I'll make a motion to send a request for an org chart as part of the standard packet that we get. Most of the folks did that last year, a couple didn't, so just to do that.
They already had them anyway.
Motion and a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I think you
Okay.
wanted them updated was the issue.
So any others, Mr. Long?
That is it.
Moving into old business, I'm gonna hand this right back to you. I just wanna maybe structure this unless you think we should do it differently. So I think there are 2 parts to this discussion. The first is a review of the TCA. I think that, you have this broken out. I think what we wanna do is review the TCA so that we understand clearly what our responsibilities are and what school responsibilities are. Then, once we do that, the discussion's not over. Remember, if we recall from last budget meeting, what we want to do is actually send that guidance from this committee in a structured way. So let's do 1 and then 1A, then 1B, and then let's continue the discussion with what we're actually going to send over. So I'll make a motion for discussion for all 3 of those things.
One clarification, there is a sheet passed out with revenue workups.
Yeah, you guys, hold on a second. This one right here.
Yes, sir.
Well,
I'll go through what mentions.
We've been discussing all this.
Yeah, there are motions on the
Is that right?
floor. We have a motion and a second.
Can we go ahead and read them
Well,
out?
we're actually going to have to make a decision on one of these.
Okay. The first one is the TCA, and it's 49-2-101, and it's county legislative bodies' powers and duties. Item D, which is highlighted, and I'm gonna read it verbatim, make revenue estimates and determine the level of revenue necessary to establish a budget for the operations of the school department that is at least equal to the minimum budget required to comply with the local match and the maintenance effort provisions of Tennessee, and it goes under that statute. And I've actually got those, I've got last year's matching, and your MOE is the same as last year's, your sheet will show it. Item 2, if you look on page number here, page number 30,
Do you have a copy of that?
they're inside the package. I'm sorry.
Oh, they're inside the whole thing? Oh, I thought you were looking at different.
No, it's this one sheet here. We
I
passed
got
out.
you.
We try to get the latest revenue numbers on those,
Oh, I see.
we get them out later. On page 30, if you look, it's part of 49.2203's and its duties and powers. On page number 30, and I will read it, and it's highlighted. I'm gonna read the pertinent section, not all of it, because I highlighted a little too far. About 2/3 of the way down, it's the second sentence, and it's the duties. It says, "The director of schools and the chairman of the board of the local board of education shall prepare a budget according to the revenue estimates and revenue determinations made by the county legislative body under 49.2.101.1D," which is the one I just read you. So what we're understanding is the county commission has a duty to prepare the revenues. The chairman of the board of education and the school board, and the director of schools has a duty to prepare a budget that complies with it.
Okay, so let's make let's send forward, can you review these budgetary estimates and then give us an estimate of, just state for the record, what maintenance of effort would be, and then what
The matching.
what the matching would be on a per penny basis.
Okay, when we go onto this first sheet, it looks like this. And it's one we can pass out, Mr. Baker. It has a column on the far left that says, budget MOE, local taxes. If you look at the bottom, there's like a subtotal with 2 lines.
Yeah, I got it.
Looks a little different, okay. If you look down going from the right to the left, the second column, it says budgeted / MOE. Your budgeted is your MOE is your budgeted dollar amount. So your MOE is local revenues of $134,062,553.
That's local MOE as of this current fiscal year.
Yes, sir. And then attached to that, there's actually the letter from the State Department of Education from last year, because this year's not available. If you go toward the back of that, the very last page, and I think I highlighted on the copy of the memorandum, it should be the last page of the packet. And you come, there's like a number by itself, and then there's 2 numbers, and the third one up, I think I got it highlighted, it's highlighted in yellow. It says local, your local match is $68,355,871.84. So you're quite a bit above
Yeah,
the match.
no, I understand that. Can you maybe help do this? So if you look at the folks on the right 2 columns, we just went down to budget MOE. Can you explain what the difference is?
So now what I'm looking at, and this is the first one, and it's really up to the committee, I try to give you information to understand. If you leave the tax rate exactly where it's at,
That's when I said on a per penny basis.
and the second half of the sales tax should go to the school in the same way as property tax is what the statute is. And then the will tax is determined by referendum, so it can't be changed. And the delinquent taxes are all determined by prior year's rate, which you can't affect at this point. So really the only effect you can do is with the current year rate. If you leave it exactly as is, it would bring in a conservative estimate is $6,194,239.
So I'm gonna make a statement here, I'm gonna get in my own key, then I'm gonna make a motion. So, I'm trying to make this I know this can be difficult to follow, but this was a source of confusion last year, because we basically tried to do the exact same thing. And this is forward-looking. So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, we think that we can do 6.5, if we keep on a per penny basis, everything the same, we can do $6.2 million more.
Then
Then the current MOE. Current MOE, leaving all pennies the same, given growth estimates. That's what we provided, that's what we provided last year. It was around 7 million, so that was the difference. However, I think this was in good faith. basically the schools interpreted that as being able to look, they thought that this 6.5 was rearward looking, and that they were able to do this on top of it, so they more or less doubled it. So what we're trying to do this year is make it crystal clear, here's what we think on a, if you wanna look at it at dollar for dollar basis, percentage-wise basis, I don't really care. I would like to make a motion. Well, one more thing before I make this motion, just because I'm trying to be very clear about this. Last year, we did make some changes to the by penny allocation, if you guys recall. Because the by penny allocation last year, I do not think we had provided 100% of the wheel tax. Is that correct? There was one tax. Which one there was one tax that we
Sales
reduced?
tax.
Sales tax.
Sales tax, you had historically done a 66-33
And
division.
so we bumped that up, but then we reduced the property tax,
You moved all of the second half of the sales tax.
which we're supposed to do by law.
Right, over
which
there
we're-
from one way or the other. So since you're not clear on debt service, it's better to have
So
it this way.
my point here is that I don't think last year we needed to make some penny allocation changes because I don't think we were in compliance with law. This year, I don't think we need to do that. I think the penny allocation should stay exactly the way they are. So I'm gonna motion to pass this forward with a recommendation, with this exact sheet forward with your recommendation to the school board.
Just for schools, because one thing we gotta remember is last year we moved almost all of the debt service revenue over into capital, so you'll need to reallocate it. This is with the current allocation.
This is just current allocations.
For schools.
For schools.
So we'll hide all the.
Correct.
Right.
Hide all the other stuff. I'm just talking about that. I basically want to give guidance that they've got $6,194,239 extra dollars from local revenue. That's the recommendation this year. That's the motion I'd like to make.
So 140 million-ish total is what they're.
140 million-ish.
140, 256, 792.
Would be the new maintenance of effort. That's my motion. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Becker, or did you second it?
I did.
Motion and a second. You're in queue, then you're in queue. Go ahead, Mr. Becker, and I'll get you.
Is this, on this last page, highlighted in yellow, is that 68 million, is that anywhere on this first page?
It compares to the two, I'm sorry, 134 million. So you're quite a bit above them.
So this is all we have to give.
To meet the local, but.
This is what we.
But
To meet the
just-
local MOE?
No, to meet the local match. Your MOE is last year,
But
but
we have, you gotta meet this either way.
if you recall,
It's locked in.
when you had county technical assistance here last time, they showed us this number, but they were really clear. Most counties in Middle Tennessee and across the state give significantly more than
Sure.
matching because the school system can't run on.
But I understand.
But it's a minimum requirement number.
So what's this 126,592 in the back? Is it on this other page?
Which one you looking at?
Just the very bottom.
The very bottom number is total maintenance of effort, 126,592.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Is that last year?
Days.
24 maintenance of effort.
Yeah.
That's
On
our
the other
budget.
page, it says what, 134?
134 is where we're at.
134 is where you're at.
Yeah, I'm just curious what this
It
126 is.
says local here. I'll ask them tomorrow.
Okay.
Looking at that.
Because this says the local MOE is 126.
But we're one. I want to say-
We're 134.
Right, that's what I'm kinda, we're at 134. That could have been the year before's MOE.
No, because it was.
It was close to that.
It'd be
Yeah,
close.
maybe it wasn't.
Without looking,
That
I
might
think
be.
that's.
Yeah, that's
Because
the.
your
that's
MOE
about
would
right.
be last year's budget, I think that's what that
That's
is.
about-
but I'll
I bet
have
that's
to
what it is.
verify that, it looks like it, that's what it should be. It should say, what year does it say on
This is
there?
fiscal year 24, is that?
The year before.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
year.
so that's your,
That's what it
okay.
was.
Which, it's now went up because it's 130.
Okay, so 134 is MOE, and the motion that we're about to vote on is to give them 6.194239 above
That's
that.
guidance.
Let me be clear, those are, by my feelings, very conservative, and if you want to discuss how sales tax and wheel tax.
This is initial guidance based on.
That's good guidance.
Mr. Klein? go
Yeah,
ahead.
a couple of questions here, Mr. Chairman. Did some of the numbers change? I remember the year before last, it was 126 million was the MOE. And maybe I'm just rounding off. And then last year, it was 133.5. We increased it by 7.5 million.
It's right here.
Okay, so now, because of this 6.2 million difference, we have to increase?
We don't have to. That was the motion. We basically, anything we don't have, just to be clear, this 134,062,553, that's what we're on the hook for, in perpetuity. So, you know, you could make a motion to just keep it at maintenance of effort, and that would be perfectly, you know, that's the thing you could do. I'm making a motion to say, hey, look, we've got, you know, we've got a conservative upward trend. We know that the schools are still trying to build on a trajectory to try to get their salaries, their teacher salaries up to the state kind of target. So, you know, I think that this is a reasonable number that we can do. I mean, I'm happy to argue anywhere between these two.
Well, I would like to argue that we've got a school district that's only increased by 1,500 students since 2014. And their maintenance of effort has increased dramatically since 2014. I think we should take the safe road, and I don't know if it's an amendment to your motion, that for the time being, until we get into the budget cycle, we stay with maintenance of effort and no more.
Or is that a motion? And I will explain why I don't want to do that.
Okay.
So the reason I don't want to do that is that I don't want to get into what we did last year, where
Point of information, point of order.
yeah.
Is there a second to his amendment?
He didn't make an amendment,
Okay.
but I'm answering, I mean, he
Okay.
directed it to the chair, I'm gonna respond. The reason I would be against that, if you were to make that amendment, is that in lieu of guidance, the schools can request whatever they want. And it is, per Mr. Long, it is our duty to provide that guidance. So if you want to provide guidance that says, hey, keep it at maintenance of effort, that's a fine motion, but I may or may not be for that, but we need to give them something. And the earlier we give them something, the better it is. So we need to give them something.
Can you explain why? The earlier we give them something.
I mean, if you're gonna make a budget,
They've got work to do.
It's that calendar that we did.
if you
They've got
wanna,
to work the
if you, I
numbers.
mean,
Tells
if
you
you're,
what revenue to use.
if you're trying to understand what revenues you have in order to make a budget, you know, you want that estimate from your funding body
Early as possible.
as early as you can. So I'm just trying to be a good partner here.
But isn't their budget based on their need, not based on our increase?
No, that's actually exactly the opposite of what Mr. Long just said. It is our duty to provide them with the revenues and to say, you must, you know, here's what you can expect to get, and then they can operate within that. Did you have anything else?
I would like to make an amendment that for
Okay.
the time being, we stay with maintenance of effort.
Is there a second? Motion fails for a second. Mr. Becker?
No, it was on the amendment, so.
I believe this will just take a simple majority vote because it's not an appropriation.
Yeah, it's not funding. This is an estimate. All right? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
One no. All right. I think we can move on.
Good. So they're coming back, we're telling them, you got
You got-
$140 million.
You got $140 million.
Don't come back with any more than that.
Correct.
That's what?
Got it.
That's what we're saying.
That's what I thought. Put it.
Okay, I've got a comment on this City of Gallatin, and Mr. Blunt, and you and I discussed this a little bit. So we had taken a vote last time to send me and Mr. Long and the mayor to the City of Gallatin. Mr. Long and I discussed this, and we're going to find a time to do it. And Mr. Long, please don't let me speak for you, but my understanding of that conversation was that we have some pending actions, and we did not want to go to that meeting until those pending actions were complete.
2 actions going on right now.
And so if you could bring us up to speed on what those actions are, happy to continue to do this, or we can hold off. I would just like to get an idea of what these are. First, motion for discussion.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
We have,
You killed me. I know I'm killing
Okay.
you. I'm not doing a good job today.
okay, we have 2 items. We have 2 items, one's $400,000 and one's $300,000. The $300,000 is for the Franklin Street stormwater, which is the one that's been discussed the most. We have spent, I think, $10,000 so far on the engineer. Make sure I'm telling you correctly. We've actually got a contract out. It's $10,000. We are bidding it until February 13th. We're gonna open it shortly, work with the engineer. If it's within budget, we're going to award the contract. If not, it will be back into your queue in March.
So just cut to the chase. Let's just wait till the 13th.
Right. The other one is the $400,000 project. We have an MOU with the utility district. The utility district's already sent us bills for $64,000 some odd dollars, so it's moving along pretty quickly too. If we sit and hold tight, these two objections are going to disappear in their own time without further action.
That's our hope. I have been in contact with Ms. Brown on this. As soon as we get bids and we approve, we have a signatory on the bid, then we're gonna get our money. Now, so let's just, I think we should just wait till the 13th unless there's any objection. All right, let's go ahead and continue. I don't know that we need any action here. Payroll holdback, I'll hand that one to Mr. Long.
The payroll holdback is still financial management, and then also, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but item D was the one the committee was gonna wait till May for the library to see if they could find additional funds.
So I don't know that we need to do anything else, because it's
Neither one.
C or D. All right, okay, election office budget issue. This one, I'll entertain a motion to discuss.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Juan, go ahead and get us that.
I think the last request I got from the committee was to ask Ms. Ashley to come discuss her budget. And that's what I've done, and also to give us summary of adjustments, and I've got
I
that
think
here.
we have, folks here, so I would, entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, would anybody from the election commission like to
Yes, sir.
present? All right.
More actually, administrative elections, hello. I just wanted to, there was a comment made in citizens, don't really have an opening statement. There was a comment made in citizens' comments regarding data processing. Just want to clarify for anyone that is in the room or that might be watching this meeting, that has absolutely nothing to do with our voting machines being connected to the internet. That is an absolute incorrect fact. But other than that, Mr. Long did.
What is the fact then? I'm sorry. Just so-
It is not. Our voting machines are never connected to the
Correct.
internet.
What's the line item for?
Data
That was
processing.
just made in citizens' comments.
No, I know that.
What's the actual?
Yeah.
He's asking, what is that?
What is
He
it?
wants to know what's in the line.
And you can ask Mr. Long.
I believe, but I could check tomorrow, I believe it's where they program the cards and stuff, but I would have to check.
It has
It's probably the
multiple-
majority of it.
DP services have everything from Comcast, AT&T, everything.
And I think it's the person programming too.
Yes, program.
But I think that's a big portion of it.
It is.
Maintenance.
I just wanted to make
Oh,
that clarification, but I was asked to be here, so I'll be happy to answer your questions
That'd
that
be a
you
good
have.
idea.
So, Rob, anybody have any questions? Mr. Warren?
And I did bring, because there was questions about the line, so I did provide a summary of how we got, and where we're at right now, because there's several line items over.
I'll leave, well, did you have anything you wanted to know? Because I've got just one or two simple questions.
For Ms. Ashley.
Yes, for Ms. Ashley. So I think the thrust of this is that there are additional requests being made. And we just didn't understand exactly what the requests were for, given that we're past an election cycle. So I guess my first question is, are there any services right now that are in danger of being cut off? Do we have any personnel who are not able to pay, or who are in arrears on their pay?
Well, the last situation we had, and Mr. Long told me how to handle it, we moved monies within our line items to pay Westmoreland,
Okay.
which was a small business in Sumner County. It was a legal notice that's required statutorily. Everything we do is by Title II, Tennessee
Okay.
Code annotated. We had to move items, but eventually, before you get to the end of this fiscal year, it's gonna cause shortages in other line items. So you guys passed, or the commission, said there were gonna be no more appropriations unless an emergency. An emergency wasn't defined, but we have to pay our bills that are statutorily required under Title II.
So
So that person was paid. to
Okay,
answer your
yes, so
question.
that was actually leads me to my next question, which
Yes, sir.
is, assuming, understanding that the ability to move between line items, do you have sufficient funds to cover all of your expected expenses during
No,
the
sir.
year?
This committee, based on, and Mr. Long's sitting right here, you cut our budget $500.
Well, I gotta correct this, we did not cut any budget.
I'm sorry,
we
you
did-
reduced. Well,
I've gotta be super clear.
I want to be super clear.
The budget from last year, the budget that we put together was reduced from what you requested, but it was not reduced from either the previous year or the previous like year over year.
That's an incorrect statement, sir, because we have a one election cycle every year and a two
So-
election cycle the next
So,
year.
Mr. Warren,
Then
can
when
you
the
provide us
presidential-
can you provide us with the amount of funds that we have provided to the,
At the time, and this is what I recall, and we can go back and look at
I've got it right here, Dave.
the tape, the minutes.
So,
You reduced our
it's
budget
it's a simple question.
$573,000.
How much year over year have we ever reduced?
Not year over year, but what happened, and that's why I put the sheet here, because there's been a lot of discussion. And that's what I was wanting to go into. There's really two line items that are significantly over right now.
Well, but I want to answer that question because it's important.
What happened was we were doing the budget workshop. And at the time, you went and looked at Miss Action, and there were several increases, and several of them noted to be due with convenient vote centers and to do with the new location. At the time, you and the other commissioners opened up in the budget document where it had the expenditures from 2 cycles ago and compared it cycle to cycle. So you didn't compare the year before, it was the year before.
Correct. We compared it to
So
like year.
it was a like year to a like year.
But these were big like years because they were
Yeah, they
presidential
were the
elections.
same, yeah, they were.
So
And you increased
maybe
it.
let me ask this. Was last year's budget the largest budget ever provided to?
I'd have to go back and look just to verify that.
I think it was. If I'm wrong, I'll admit to it. But I think last year's budget was the largest budget that we have ever provided to the election commission.
But-
I think.
But the two items that, I'm sorry,
Seems like even through the last year before that there was some question about missing a deadline for submission of the budget.
Yeah, that was year before.
was-
That was year before. That was this year.
I can't remember, I can't believe I remember that part.
the two major items that right now is gonna be difficult to cover in the budget, that's what I'm looking at, is overtime and election workers. The original request for overtime was $29,074. When you did the 2-year comparison, the budget committee put in $29,735, which is more. The line item's over by $4,561. The second request that's over was election workers. The request was $277,219. The committee, when they did a like over like, was $280,000. The current expenditures is $332,721.13, which is $52,721.13 more. So the two lines that were, the two largest overages were not from decreases.
So what were those two?
Election workers and overtime.
Election workers and overtime. So do we, so I guess the question is, and
And we have paid
I'll
them.
ask both of you guys.
Miles has already paid them, so we have to cover them.
So, maybe I can ask it this way, how much do we, and I'm trying to make this as simple as I can, like, how much do we have, does the election commission, I'll get you in a second, how much does the election commission have currently in its budget, and how much is its expected
And
expenditures?
that's the issue. You've got, they have money in their budget, but several of the items are spoken for, such as
I get it. I
administrators,
get it.
employees, continuing. So when you look at the remaining items outside of that, you know, such as the insurance, you don't wanna look at those. There's some in postal, but I don't know what they've got left the rest of the year. That'd be more of a Lori question, but by itself, the item for election workers is 52,000 some odd dollars over. It's going to be going down these line items hard pressed
To find it.
to find the 52 and the 46. That was my,
Okay.
however we got here, and that's not what I'm trying to say.
No,
I'm
I get it.
saying,
I get it, so that part
right
of it,
now, them two are gonna be hard pressed to cover.
all right, got it, Dylan.
And we've paid them, let's be clear, because they were due to them, so we went ahead and
All right.
paid
That
them.
was my biggest thing. Or what does rentals consist of? That was the other one that was highlighted.
Okay, so our voting
Sorry,
machines.
Miss Ashley, sorry.
No, that's fine. Our voting machines were new
Sure.
in 2024, and they increased in weight significantly and size because of the state of Tennessee requirement to have VVPATs, which is the voter verified paper audit trail.
Yes.
So now it's a
Love
two-man lift. Everybody loves it, but it's a two-man lift. They weigh 52 plus pounds apiece.
It looked like a behemoth.
So when people were picking up the voting equipment of officers of election and taking them to the precincts, they can no longer do that. So now we have to rent U-Haul trucks
Gotcha.
to
Okay.
do that.
Can I say one thing? There may be a pragmatic answer here too. This last election, my understanding was much larger than earlier presidential elections. Is that true?
Yes.
So when Lori came in with her estimates, hers was based on kind of like yours earlier, cycles. If you look, hers was 277, 219, yours was 280. Pretty close. Hers is 29, yours is slightly higher, but we're way over. So by looking at it, it just, it looks like right now because of excessive or more voter turnout caused those two overages.
So the two overages that you're talking about,
The big
election,
ones.
election workers and what was the other one?
Overtime.
Overtime. So it was basically all personnel.
And when
you add those up, it's about.
Well, even the rentals is.
About
it sounds like
$90,000
it's part of the-
And then the same thing, you've got to think there's benefits on that, so you've got the 52 plus the 4 plus another, it's probably somewhere around 12%, this is give or take.
Mr. Becker.
I just got a question just from a procedural standpoint. The green folder you raised, what is that, statute 2?
This is Title II.
Title II.
Tennessee Code Annotated. This is what it takes to run an election
Okay.
in the state of Tennessee.
Thank you. So what's it called again?
Title II.
Title II, okay.
Tennessee Code Annotated.
All right, so my question is, we went through the budget process and we basically, the commission came to a budget number for Ms. Ashley's department. Does Title II allows them to just blatantly disregard, that's probably a strong word, to disregard that budget number and just spend whatever they need to spend, and then it just forces us to
I mean,
pay it?
that's a good question.
It's like, why do we even
why
go
do we
through the
even go through the
budget?
budget?
Yeah.
Well, it puts me in the thing that you've got federal and state laws to pay people. Then we've got budget state laws, and then we have other ones. So when we come down where somebody's not gonna get paid or insurance because we have agreements with insurance, we generally pay those.
So, but
But
you
the
understand my
point, the
question?
point is
I mean,
simple.
like-
I mean, it's like if either an appointed or a constitutional officer can basically back in force an expense.
You'd have to
like
get the courts involved, let's put it that way, for violating budgets.
Yeah.
But right now, what I'm trying to say is just to make sure that I'm clear, for the two items that are over by far, and the rest of them are not over right now, except for that little bit that you know, is $6,000.
It was just the one that was, percentage wise, it is actually the largest. It's not,
And but if you look at that, Miss Ashley's estimates in the budget committee after they did a 2-year look back, came into fairly close numbers with each other, but they were both significantly short. And that's why I was asking her, because I heard that other places, it was a significantly larger turnout in this presidential election, which drove costs more than anybody anticipated.
On the one hand, I definitely don't want to, you don't want election workers are out, they're doing, they're wonderful people and they're working, and I don't want anybody to ever worry that they're not gonna get paid. But on the other hand, part of me almost wants to force that issue and make it a court issue.
I get the frustration, honestly. I
I
understand.
mean, because it's a really.
I do. I
Yeah, you know
understand the
what I mean?
frustration,
It's
but
like,
I
it's
also
not-
don't think that Ms. Ashley's out
I
there
don't,
just
no, I don't think that either, that's not.
willy-nilly saying, let's.
I don't think that, but it's like, that shouldn't be there shouldn't be that ambiguity, right? Like there
No, I
should, it
totally
should be,
understand, yeah.
there should be some kind of guidance.
Mr.
Chairman,
Chairman,
My
I'm
turn.
supposed to pay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
My
my name is
turn.
Tom Lee, I'm counsel to the Election Commission.
Under
There is
the
guidance to your question, it's a good question. There is guidance in Tennessee Code Annotated 2-12-109A1. Here's what it says. It is the responsibility of the county to fund the operations of its election commission. It is the responsibility of the county to fund the operations of its election commission. If a county fails to pay appropriate funds sufficient to pay expenses that are reasonably necessary for the discharge of statutorily mandated duties of its election commission, such commission may petition the Chancery Court to compel the appropriation of such funds. It is clear.
Well, I
And-
mean,
and-
wait,
well,
wait,
if I may,
wait.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
and
Mr.
this-
Chairman,
And this
I'm-
is my position here, what I'm saying is, the phrase reasonably necessary, and I
Yes, sir.
love lawyers. there's always these words, reasonably necessary, and so that,
Those are
that's,
words of the
those are the
legislature,
words.
sir, not lawyers.
Those, well, the legislature is largely made out of lawyers too, so.
Nothing more.
I motion to
But,
bring us back
but
in
my
session.
point is, Mr. Chairman, if I may, my point
Go
is,
ahead.
if the county
Second.
commission,
What's that?
We
We got
a motion.
What's the
Bring
motion?
us back in
Come back
All right.
into session.
I got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
So
we're
my
back
turn?
in session, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we have a question.
Go ahead.
So I recall that a couple of years ago, we did a benchmark with Rutherford County. Can you, refresh my memory?
It's been-
I have some memory of it, but if you
Yeah,
can refresh
It's
me.
been a couple of years back, but our office here was more expensive.
Yeah, I think in terms of reasonably necessary, I think we're pretty close there. But on the other hand, I don't want, go ahead. Wait, did
I was just wondering if that would be an exercise that we can complete again,
we do benchmarking every year
but we
anyway.
have not.
We haven't that one because right now we're just buried under everything else.
But
We've
Ms.
said,
Klein.
we've said several times, Mr. Chairman, that this was a bigger turnout than the similar
Well,
recent.
Well, let's see if there's-
Can we quantify that?
yeah, but here's the thing, we could, but it would be, I mean, we're gonna ask them to do a lot more work. Look, I mean, as you can tell, I'm about to make a motion, I'm not just talking to myself speak here. I'm kinda willing to fight this fight a little bit, but I also don't wanna see election workers worried about stuff, so Mr. Wine, it sounds like there's about $90,000 that we're worried about being
It's
short.
not quite, it's 52,721.13 in election workers, 45, 61 for,
52.
overtime, so the 52,721.13, you'd have to add 7.65% to for Social
Yeah,
Security
so
Medicare.
60.
And then the other ones, you'd have to add Social Security Medicare and retirement, I believe retirement's
Let's-
11,390.
If we add that, does that change maintenance of effort?
Theirs is basically what it was required to run an
Yeah,
election.
so-
So their election cycles
Yeah,
change. I
that's
don't
true.
think
So
that's
here's what I wanna
really-
do. I don't want people worried about this. I am gonna bring this up in legislative, that I'm kinda, sort of wanting to fight a little bit. But, because I don't want people worried about getting paid, I'm gonna motion to provide the election commission with an additional $60,000, at least at this juncture, to make sure that we can cover. And we may need to change it later, but the last time we did this, we got in trouble because we just, we basically gave guidance that said, hey, spend whatever.
To make sure you get your goal, could you do the 52,721 in election workers, the 4561
Oh, yes.
overtime? And then just say,
95.
and then just say the required matching benefits, and that would.
Well, I wanna give them a hard, we can come back and do it. I wanna give them a hard amount.
Wild calculator to know what the benefits.
What's
would be.
$100,000?
No, it's nowhere near that. It's, as I'm saying, you're
No,
going,
the 52 plus the 45.
52 would be 7.65 plus the
It's
4,500.
4,500.
It's
Oh,
4,500.
4,500.
4,500. Then the 4,500 has the
So-
7.65 plus 11,390.
It's 57 plus 7.
765.
So if you wanted to move it forward, you could just say those two amount plus required
Then
benefits. and we would
that's
prepare
fine.
it.
We can do it that way. You can give us
And then we'll zero
calculations, it
out
should be around
those-
$65,000.
And we would zero. her line
That's my
items out
motion.
there.
I have a motion to do that. We have a motion, and a second, Mr. Becker.
So what's the,
You're in the queue.
Yeah, I'll do that.
what's the benefit of doing this now versus letting
Per
them
your-
transfer line items?
Per your private act, your resolution and statutes are not supposed to exceed the budgets.
Yeah, we don't, and
So
that's
right
what
now,
happened
I'm-
last
The
year.
line item budgets?
But your resolution says line item budget, and audit actually looks at payroll line items. So yeah, they look at it quite.
And so last year, we got in trouble with this because we gave guidance, just said, hey, come back and we'll pay as we go. Well, we
Kinda got
gave
you
them
this
guidance
year,
to
and-
like,
And that's another
go and
reason.
spend what you wanted, so I don't wanna do that. I wanna give them hard numbers.
So is your motion reducing it from other line items or just giving them
No,
from where?
No, because
I think that'd be
his
hard
statement was
pressed.
that if they won't, he doesn't think they're gonna be able to meet it.
It's gonna be
So
very hard on.
where's the money coming from?
So we're gonna give, you've got it.
And the size on balance.
Ms. Boyd, we got it. Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
So we're not even, I understand that Mr. Long says they're hard pressed, but, I mean, I see other departments here. This is not somewhere, this is a slippery slope, because we have other departments with MOEs that can do the same thing, just put more people on the floor every day. I mean, this is a really,
That's why I want
this
to
is a
fight.
slope I'm not willing to slide down right yet. I would like to, why can't we move something out of a line item and then reconsider it later? We can move some money out of postal charges while we revisit a benchmark next month. We could move some of the postal money out. And then I'd like to see a benchmark against some of these other counties because they had the same
We win
election
that all
cycle.
day long. I mean, I've seen our benchmarks.
I'd like to take a closer look at it because this is a slippery slope. We've got a lot of departments
Do
that
you
are
have a
going.
motion?
I'm gonna vote against your motion.
No, that's fine.
I'm just explaining where I would like to go with my motion after that.
That's fine.
Majority in a way.
Ms. Becker.
Do we know, Mr. Long, are these the 52,721, 40, and the 4,561? Is that that's for time already worked?
Yes, sir. And there's
And there
probably,
shouldn't be any more, because we're done with elections?
they probably
cycle.
built some comp time and Lori's paid somebody, but I don't know if she's paid all of her compensatory time. That'd be a question for her.
757 hours are still on the books.
And just like I don't know, that's why it's probably a good idea, and I don't wanna intrude, but on the 36th, we might wanna ask what's left to mail this year, like any cards or anything, I'm not sure. It would be a question for me. But the one we're talking about, transformation,
What is,
And
what
just
is
to-
that, 776 still on the books?
what now?
What does that mean?
That means that with an agreement with an employee, and it's only governments can have a limited amount of compensatory time in lieu of overtime with an employee, and they can take it off, and you've got a reason to let them take it off, it earns a time and a half rate. Other than governments, no one else is allowed to do it, and it's, in my opinion, it's not necessarily
Election
the best
workers.
thing
You got the
anyway.
Department of Labor max of 240.
And that 240 period, that's at the, and you got any close to 240?
After presidential,
So I'd like to add,
Go ahead, Ms. Boyd.
That's a regular worker.
It's not a question.
That's your.
I can't amend on your motion.
You can
but
amend it.
I'd like to amend and make the motion that we move the money out of the other lines, knowing that we may have to bring more money in next month, and look at a benchmark and see what the other counties are experiencing in this election cycle. Because I'm not sure that we don't have efficiency problems here. And earlier I asked Mr. Loing about the non-exempt and how that flows. We have highly compensated people in this department that get comp time.
These wouldn't qualify under,
Do they get comp?
no, the only one that would qualify, yes, they get comp, the ones that are, non-exempt employees. There's only two that are
Who's
treated
non-exempt?
exempt. Everybody except for Miss Ashley and her assistant. And
So
they
the two of them do
qualify.
not get comp, but
Right, everybody else, because they are management, they would not qualify for an exemption.
So those two do not
They-
get comp.
Those two don't, but the rest of them would qualify for overtime. We'd be hard pressed to say that they don't qualify for overtime on those.
I'm just asking that in my amendment that we take a moment, move it out of the other line items so we don't go over, and then do a benchmark and come back at this next month.
Second.
It's
We have a
a
motion.
separate motion, that's
It's
not
got a
an
separate.
amendment.
Mhm.
Okay, well then that's fine. We'll, here, just to be.
You gotta
we'll take-
withdraw.
We'll take mine and
The
then.
only
think it's an
issue with benchmarking,
I
we have
mean-
all hands on deck doing the
Can you
budget
withdraw
right now.
yours and let mine go?
It's an amendment.
I mean, you know what? I'm
Doesn't
gonna go
matter.
ahead and let your amendment stand. And, yeah, I'll just
Why
let
don't
your.
you just make it clean and withdraw yours and I'll make a motion and.
No,
then
well, I
we-
mean, I think it's actually cleaner to do yours than do mine.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I know that I'm going against council here, but I think we can let that stay.
Just to be clear, we're talking about $100,000 and we still have 300,
65,000.
well, we've got 346.
But if you look, David, like up under just the deputies alone, there's 133, 44, under the administrator of almost 45, and then insurance has 20, and 29, state retirement has 20.
So it's all.
There's a lot of in
it's already-
salaries.
A lot of it's already encumbered.
It's for employees who are already working.
It's already encumbered.
Do we have 60,000 for a month?
As I'm saying, it's already over, it's already paid. I would like to see it cleared up, but it's really up to your discretion.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, here's the thing. We either do it or let it fly and then, battle it out in court. But if we let it fly,
Do you really want to be the county that goes to court over?
Do we want,
election?
well, do we want to be the county that's like not paying somebody? That's the question. Like, I don't want that to happen.
It seems like we have the money in the budget for 1 month to look this over.
I mean,
What now?
You got a motion on the floor.
Well,
Anybody, any other discussion on it?
Can you repeat your motion just to?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we take the excess that are remaining in other line items and transfer them around to make audit happy. And then come back with a benchmark to see where we're at. We're ultimately going to be paying this, but I'd like to look at the efficiencies between us and other large counties.
well, let me be clear, audit's problem is they're saying that we're not complying with the budget statutes by doing this.
Yeah.
And if it was and Lori knows if it was
Look,
a
she can
non-salary
make
item, I
the, she can
would.
make the motion, but.
The
with that-
non-salary items we held up and transferred, but the salary ones, I've never done that because of the issue.
I can send you all the statutes if you want to listen to it.
I have my own book.
So, if I understood right, it sounds like the amendment is to use that whatever it was, $65,000 or whatever it ends up being. And it'd be at Ms. Ashley's discretion of where she pulls, which line items to pull.
Well, I mean, the way I'm understanding this is that my motion was to provide roughly $65,000. The amendment is basically no money. We're just let it ride for a month at the end of the day.
Correct.
And that means that by default, the election commission would have to move things around. I mean, am I accurately stating it? So that's the choice that we have here.
But that would only be if Mr. Long's office could give us a breakdown of benchmark.
Well,
We'll
she'd
try
have to
to
be
do
doing
that.
that while he's building that.
Right now, with the issue we got all hands on deck doing the budget, so we'll try to do it, but it's gonna.
Yeah, I think-
And we moved the budget way back to meet the June timeline this year.
So, I mean,
We can give it a try.
well, so
We'll
look,
try to
here's
call
the thing.
counties.
We got a motion on the floor. Any other discussion on it? We have the amendment. Voting now on the amendment. Would you please restate the amendment?
So it's gonna be amendment.
Yeah, your amendment is on. Would you please restate it?
Yes, so I would like to go forward with where we're at now and encourage the department to move the money around like they need to, give us a chance to analyze for efficiencies compared to other counties and see just why we're so much over. And then readdress this next month. And acknowledging that everyone has been paid.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
All opposed?
No.
No. So all the ayes can raise your hand? No, okay. The amendment carries. So motion as amended is to let this go one more month. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No.
We'll try to bring you a benchmark. so.
Okay, bring us
If
benchmark.
they would like enough for you.
Shannon, did you say no?
All right.
We'll just run
They
the
said no.
Yeah,
Those
we
two
said
said
no.
no.
I said,
I voted yes.
Then
They
you
said
said
no.
no.
All right, we're in order.
Show
Thank you,
them.
Ms. Ashley. All right, so,
But we have Eric over here, so we want extra deputies. I don't want to call his name.
okay.
Can we do one thing though, and this is, when we do the benchmarks, can we go ahead and send them to election first?
Yes,
to see if
that's
they've got
fine.
a Point of action about it.
All right.
Did everybody hear that?
Is everybody okay with that, including Lori?
I'm sorry.
Before I send it to committee, if it's okay, as soon as we do the benchmarks, I would like to send it to the Administrator of Elections only first to let her address if it is more wide. and
Yes.
we can
That's
compare.
fine.
Give her a fair shot.
We don't-
It's just convenient,
we
both
got
sides of the county, that's all I was just trying to share.
Thank you.
Want to share it
Thank
with you
you.
first and let you look
Okay.
at it.
All right, let's continue. Planning $10,000 general fund for debris removal. We've had this on here several times. I'm gonna motion to
She's
approve.
gonna say it's.
This is your second reading on
Oh,
the
yeah.
simple majority.
Second reading on this one, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Oh, this one dies.
Who's no?
Boyd,
Bergdorf, Becker, and Lambert. Okay.
Did I receive two positives?
Yeah, that was just me and Mr. Clowns. Yep, 10,000.
Unbelievable.
All right.
My husband told me.
Well, maybe that's Doji. All right, Health Department.
We've got the amount back from Al. It was for the grant that was last month, and I think your estimate, his estimate is reading through here. I anticipate the account balance will remain below 2,000. They said the initial check is for 1724. It's on page 77. You may want to get clarification. Suspend the rules and get clarification. He'll have what she's asking for. He's back there. I'm not sure if he's asking for 37 or 2.
Is this on G? Hold on just a
It's
second.
G, it's on page 77. Skip it here. It's a child safety closer.
It's the car seat.
This is just pass through.
Yeah, it's passed through, but you
Yes.
didn't know the amount last month, and
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
right.
100%
That's
clear
right.
what he's
Do we,
asking. So let's do
motion
that.
to suspend the rules just to get an idea. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
How much is this amount for? What's the total amount?
It's gonna be roughly that 1,500 to 2,000
Okay.
every quarter. And they're gonna ensure that we have an inventory to give out.
And this is all passed through, right?
It's all passed through,
So-
it's a continual all pass
If
through.
it's a
6,000,
quarter, then the rest of the
6,000.
year would be less than 6. The rest of the year would be less. How much you quote that for? What, less than 4?
Yeah, probably, well, we're January through March, they might get another probably 1,500 in 3 months.
So you're talking 3,000?
Yeah, $3,000 or less.
It's all passed through, all right.
I just have a.
Go ahead.
Just for general knowledge, how many car seats do you do?
We just started, so what was happening was, in our chant program, the moms were leaving the hospital, and by law, they've got to be put in a car seat. So, surprise, surprise, they can't leave, so they're sitting in the parking lot for 3 hours, calling the sheriff's department, trying to get a technician up to install it. And my folks were sitting there killing 3 hours, waiting, trying to get a technician in for efficiency. I said, we got to learn how to do this ourselves. And 4 of my chant people went and it's a 40-hour class to learn how to install safety seats. And then the Department of Safety said, do you want a grant? And I said, well, how many have got it? So William County's the only other county in the state that's got it. And I said, let's get this money, because my people are standing there, waiting to install a safety seat, now we don't have a car safety seat, so it's still killing time.
So just to be clear, these are only people at the hospital, because I know that we also service people from other counties. And I mean, it's a pass
It'd be
through.
our
I don't
chant,
want,
people who make the community outreach navigation teams and we're preparing them to become parents
yeah.
or so that's one of the things we'll check off. Have y'all got the car safety seat? And do you qualify financially?
And you're not gonna grow this.
Motion to bring us back into order.
All right, thank you.
Motion is
They're getting
second.
tired of me.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're just trying to be dozy over here.
Okay.
That's waiting a second, correct?
Yeah, so we have a motion. Is there a motion?
Yes.
We have a motion. And a
Second.
motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously.
And that's to waive also.
Yeah, that was right. All right, Board of Education,
Motion to group.
motion one to approve.
Yes, one
Motion
through
is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Appropriate to Sheriff's Department, Drug Task Force funds,
It's flow through, it comes from the feds, it's seized money. You guys have to budget because they want internal controls.
motion.
Second.
Waive.
With waiver, second reading. Second's good with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this grant is also all passed through, I believe, correct?
Yes, it's for
A
bonuses.
motion is waive,
Hold on, it's for what?
It's for, I think it's for training and bonuses, is that correct?
is it,
No.
all right, anything? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay, motion carries unanimously.
Inmate medical.
And this is passed.
Flow through.
Flow through, all right, motion,
Waive.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Next is a transfer.
Okay, that's just, so no.
Major categories for health insurance changes.
Okay, motion and waive second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item D1, if you want me to explain it. there's-
Yeah, go ahead.
They made a request for 2 capital items back in the budget. The sheriff decided it'd be more advantageous to fix his training center, I believe. It's not actually fixed, it's actually a modification or upgrade, small one. But he wanted for transparency, and we wanted to make sure the budget committee was aware and they were okay with it. It's already appropriated funds.
Okay.
Is that D1, David?
You just need to basically say it's okay.
All right, motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Opioid Abatement Committee, so I did add one more, I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one. I added one more person to this. Did you guys on the opioid committee get that email from me?
Yes. Matt Campbell.
Okay, Mr. Matt Campbell is on there. Are there any other, is it
There's
filled now, or do
something-
we have any?
Well, there's another issue. I don't know if you're gonna
Well,
address it.
we'll get to it. Let me make sure, is the committee filled now?
No.
Are you able to get
No.
quorum? No.
We can get quorum barely.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, we
Put it one
have
citizen on the
barely.
commissioner board.
Are we a commissioner short?
We're Commissioner Short.
Yeah,
Daryl
Daryl.
and
Daryl.
citizen.
And a,
And a citizen.
yeah, we
Just
had
show
two,
citizens
we had
for
two
it?
citizens to start with.
Daryl,
Well, no, was it
Did
a
we have-
citizen or the judge?
No, because we had the
Judge don't
lady,
vote,
the
does he?
healthcare.
No, he doesn't vote.
We had the healthcare lady that came, and then she dropped
right.
out. And then we had the
Will.
citizen, Will,
So we
that's
need
dropping
one more
off.
citizen and one.
Correct. One more citizen.
And one, all right, I got it.
And the other thing was judicial, Judge Blatton stepped away. We wanted a judicial member at the table, but he felt that it was a conflict, so we lost that seat.
It's
And-
not, it's non-voting.
That's non-voting.
That's a non-voter.
Oh, it's
I'll
not
take,
voting, true.
I got it. You need one more, I thought you just needed
The
one.
citizens don't vote either, so if you're only worried
Well,
about commissioners.
It's mainly the commissioner that.
All right, then I will appoint, Ms. Burgess. So, there we go.
Did you
No,
know?
no
I
objection.
just told him I'd do it.
So we got that. All right,
I like
And then
reading
the
those
other issue with
applications.
those-
go ahead.
To vote on that?
So.
Well, actually-
Yeah, they probably need to send it back.
Motion.
You should restart the meeting.
It's
Yeah.
chair, it's a subcommittee,
Yeah,
so
but
it
it's
should be
not
chairman's
for the-
discretion.
The opiate. So the other issue with the opiate is this is a committee that we anticipate to be for 18 years, and we have it set up as a subcommittee. So what we're discussing is this should be a standing committee. This is an item that needs to be taken, not from here, but, I mean, kind of, it doesn't need to be under the budget, it needs to, we're discussing it should be a standing committee, and we need to have more time than 1 year. We don't, basically, the whole committee dissolves really soon.
I mean, it's a good point.
We're gonna dissolve really quickly because 1 year we're
That's actually
up.
item B on here to discuss. Item A, so I mean, right now you're about to miss item A if we're not careful.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. So what's the need with the supplies?
Item A, there's a clarification, you have a county commission policy, talks about supplies and infrastructure. We're asking to send it to county commission, basically to clarify that if a nonprofit or a county has extra funds, they can use it for the
Who's
treatment.
they?
The committee can approve for them to
Oh,
use
okay.
it for the naloxone.
That's, yeah, naloxone.
Naloxone, the AED.
Yeah.
But it needs to go into the commission because they approve the
Okay,
policy.
motion.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now let's get on to D. So, my understanding here, because we almost skipped A, is that, do you have a motion to dissolve this as a subcommittee and to move it as a standing committee? Is that a motion?
We have discussed it at the opiate committee. We will dissolve. I'm not quite sure if we're up for it next month. It's by our standing rules, we can only be a standing committee for 12 months. You're gonna need to reappoint the whole subcommittee every year. And there's a whole amount of work and knowledge that we've done, as Dylan can speak to, that is not beneficial to anyone for that to happen. This needs to be a committee that just flows, not a subcommittee.
Somehow it needs to, and I don't know how we need to do it. Eric can definitely speak into this too, because he's been talking to but it needs to have some new blood along with some old knowledge continually on there. And the problem is you're gonna have, I mean, even the commissioners, I mean, there's a chance that we could all not be on there, and there is that, you can move to a citizen seat, but then how does that look?
So what it sounds like is that there needs to be some rules
Yes.
for,
Yes.
like can that committee come up with suggested rules for like how it should be governed and then bring, I don't think that,
It'd still have to come from you.
that's fine, I mean,
Here,
if
if I
y'all
can,
want, I can just draft some rules.
if I can
for it.
interject on that,
Go ahead.
money is gonna be coming in on this opioid thing
Two
for
decades.
5 to 10 years at a minimum.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be a recurring problem unless it becomes some sort of freestanding committee that's answering to the commission as a whole.
At the last meeting, we asked Dustin, our grant accountant, to go away and prepare what you're talking about. And he,
To go away.
well, to come back to our next meeting with some outline of what other counties are doing, and also to ask the state reps what they would recommend for us. One other piece I'd like to throw out there is the citizens are not happy with the amount of work that they do, and they get no vote. And I'm just saying, it might be hard to keep, if you want their voice on there.
Can we do that by law? Can we do
I'll have to research that. I don't see how they, because they're not gonna get any of the protections.
But if we do it as,
I
if
see
you
what
were,
you're saying there.
but if you did it like an appointment through committee on committees like you normally do, there'd be kind of like the library board, which is a very different thing. I mean,
Financial management has citizens.
they make votes, and they have.
And they vote on?
They're
They're all
voting members.
indemnified.
The private act is written to allow that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're formed up
So in
under
order for
separate
those, okay,
statutes.
so in order
Protect their
for,
statute.
in order for us to be able to do that, we would need to make it a standing committee.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Becker?
I'm trying to figure out the difference, there's that nonprofit allocation committee
Yeah.
that you appoint every, 12 months.
It's kind of the same thing.
And they vote, the citizens on that vote there, but then it goes through
But then it goes to the
budget
budget, 'cause that's just
and
a
full
recommendation.
The
commission.
county commission.
Yeah.
does all.
So are we saying this opioid money would never go to the?
Well, I guess
commission?
that's true, because if it
That's
goes
good
through
commission.
budget, then they should be able to vote.
Yeah.
That's a good point. What's the
Yeah.
difference then?
Yeah.
But my thing is, it's a subcommittee, it's voted on again by this committee and the
Yeah,
county
so it
commission.
should be
So the
fine.
citizens can vote.
They should be able to,
They
So-
They don't
vote
actually have
here.
How about-
authority, I guess.
I have another suggestion.
They're recommending.
Go ahead,
what
Ms.
they
Boyd.
are.
So,
Yeah.
with Commissioner Becker mentioning the nonprofit, just to simplify things, could we blend those two boards? Because they basically are doing the same
Oh,
thing,
man.
and one is giving away.
No, that's very- no, that's-
I didn't
Dylan's
sit on
already
two.
there.
No.
those are very different things.
No.
Yeah, those are very different things, because one is purely from the county, this is passed through, and this is for
There's a lot
the
of
one has a
rules.
lot more rules. These are
Oh, I
these
know.
are very
I'm
different.
familiar with it.
We're gonna, yeah.
So I
there's a
don't
lot
think
of
we
rules.
blend them. I mean, you can make that motion, I'll be against it,
No, I'm just throwing it out there, discussion
but,
line.
I see your way of thinking though, like,
Let-
because
It's very
there is a
similar.
lot of
So-
overlap,
so
like CASA
current-
or some of these.
currently-
It really,
currently, you guys are working on like a set of recommendations.
Yes.
Can we just
Well-
punt this for a month and let me get those back and look at them and then?
I'm not sure that we might dissolve with the standing rules, the 12-month.
Well,
It's
so
already
I
been more
can,
than 12
You
months.
can just appoint. the
I'll just
same-
reappoint the same group.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can just follow up that exact same email, and, because it's the same people on it. I'll add Ms.
Just do-
Bergdorf, then appoint for 12 more years, that way we're covered.
Oh, months.
12 more months,
This is-
that way we're
I'm not trying to
covered.
be 47.
What committees are on the committee?
Um,
The committee approves subcommittees or the committee?
So that's what I'll do to
Just
keep
in
us,
subcommittees,
that's what I'll do to
don't
keep us
report
good
to
for
the
So
12,
what's,
for
what
12
do we want to
months.
report them every
But I
year?
get your point. So other than that, let's just punt this.
Yeah, I mean.
That's
Yeah.
parliamentary Becker.
So what
Yeah.
they need.
That's the easiest way to do
It will
it.
save
All right,
time,
I
Matt.
got
Well,
it.
and
think
yeah,
it's
that
simple
is.
motion.
All right, we're going wild here, we're going.
Why don't you just appoint them next month under the committee and don't worry about it? You appoint them
He
for
just
them
That's,
appointed.
that's what I'm gonna do.
for a whole year.
Yeah, just go ahead and
For a year,
report us
and
for a
then-
year,
but I-
and
I do
we'll
want
work it
to-
out.
we'll work it out with
And make the
All right.
citizens vote.
Okay.
Yes, which I can do,
Yeah.
Yes.
which I can do.
You can get item 3.
Yeah, go ahead, let's do it.
Item 3, there's 2 memorandums, one with Portland Senior Citizens and one with the City of Portland. What this is, there's a broadband grant. It ends October 31st, 2023 with this, 26. With this agreement, it says that these 2 entities are responsible for the cost after the grant disappears and not the county.
Yes.
If we don't have it, we're gonna end up absorbing.
All right,
Which two?
It is the Portland Senior Citizens and the City of Portland.
so it's basically saying, hey, once this grant goes away, we don't.
Because it benefits them, they have to cover their costs.
Motion to approve A and B.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item,
Okay.
item 4 is for informational only. Anytime there's an emergency purchase, you have to report certain items. The
All right,
mayor had an emergency purchase, which was legit to replace the water heater in the jail. There's 2 POs, and I'm just asking to have it docketed with the commissioner.
Motion.
Motion agreed and approved.
well, we don't need.
We just need to
Oh, we don't?
approve the document with the commission.
Motion, do we need a motion to docket?
Docket with the county
All right,
commission.
second,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to approve item 5.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Item 6, we were reading the resolution and the attachment was different. The attachments are correct, the resolution had a different number. We're just asking to have it correct and sent back to the
Motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, school-related nonprofit debt. Motion to discuss.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna get my own cue here. Didn't the school board just vote to send forward, what, how much was it? Can you tell? 1.4?
Yes, that sounds,
Was it 1.1?
it was 1 point something.
You only have like $1,024,000 in hospital.
So,
Did you hear that?
How much?
A
No,
It's
million
around a
24
million, 24,000, maybe a little more.
in
than
hospital fund.
That's the total.
How much in the hospital?
It's about 1,024,000. There's some interest, I can get the both of
Okay.
them numbers.
And so that's in addition to the, is that inclusive
That would
of?
be inclusive of that 270. That's as of everything right now.
Okay.
A little over $1 million from which you get that.
So, but that's just for sports, right? Those were just for like booster clubs.
The hospital funds, just funds we have reserved.
No, I mean what the schools sent for.
Yes, no bands, no.
Yeah, no, it wasn't any arcs, it wasn't,
Playground equipment.
You might want to-
so, I mean, here's, so
Committee.
I'm gonna get my own cue and I'm gonna say this real quick. This is why I was against pushing all this forward without going into the budget cycle. I'm not necessarily against helping out Westmoreland. There's a few different ways of looking at this. If we approve the 1.1 million, if we approve either the, and this is gonna go on the floor, the 240 or whatever it is for Portland, or the 1 million that the schools have given us, it puts us on a slope that is dangerous. What I would like to do, we now, Mr. Becker, you and I both said, you know, we wanted to know what was all out there. We at least have something approved from the school board that was out there. I doubt it's the whole universe of stuff. What I would like to do, here, and I'm gonna put this in the form of a motion, is to consider all requests from any school-related nonprofit as part of, just consider it, as part of next year's budget cycle. That's my motion. We have a motion and a second, go ahead.
Are you speaking on current debt or like Portland quarterback Cup, like recently paid off? So is it,
I mean, they can bring whatever they want, but there's so we can, an entity can bring whatever they want.
Sure.
However, there will be different, depending on if something is paid off or not paid off, there are probably different rules about whether or not we can actually take any action on it. So,
You're not paying the debt anyway. You're just donating to the nonprofit.
right,
so.
so technically.
With an
you could
agreement
do
that
I
that.
mean, I
do
guess you
something.
could. So I don't like having to do this, but it's the only way to do it. I mean, to be fair, you kind of have to tell them, you know,
And
take all comers.
Commissioner Schoaf, with, you know, your budget cycle is so tight, you might want to consider maybe sending it back to the giving committee to kind of sort through those first.
Well, I may do that. I may
Yes.
actually, I think that's a good,
I
I
mean,
mean, I'm thinking about
If
it.
Mr. Becker and them, I mean, that may be the best thing to have another day.
Well,
meeting
I mean, I can
with
just
all.
do it once we,
Well, if they're willing to do it, because it's really not giving, it's kind of,
well, it's
Giving.
giving.
well, it's not charitable, it's more athletic. It's kind
But you're gonna have to have a cap on there. I mean, at the
Yeah,
end
well,
of the
that's
day,
fine.
we go
Yeah.
through.
Yes,
and-
yes, that's
and
what
you
we'll do.
put the
We'll do it, we'll get a
1,024
cap.
and throw them all
We'll
in
put a
there.
cap on there and
then they
say,
figure out who's most needy.
that's
and
exactly right.
Most needy, and then try
Oh.
to distribute all
You're
that.
saying
How
up
do you
to-
do that most needy at the public school?
They would go through and look at the different
That's
ones,
on,
what
up
money
to
they
the,
brought through.
up to the committee.
Well, they gotta turn in all, they gotta do the application, tells what revenues
Which
they're bringing
committee?
in, and
The,
do their
The
concessions.
nonprofit
They'll show their
application.
Some of them may get a lot more
The
money
one
for
that I wouldn't
concessions
make
because they're
guilty
bigger
of.
and they're not gonna
Mr.
pay
Becker,
more.
because I know you're dying over here because we're not in order, go ahead. We're almost done. You had your hand raised.
Yeah, I did.
He's chair of nonprofit,
I'm currently in your.
multi-year chair.
Yeah. So,
For your term.
yeah, I was gonna say sort of what you just touched on. I think the proper path is for the commission to determine an amount, whatever that amount is.
Yeah.
A total amount. You know, I'm gonna make it up just for, you know, whatever, $100,000, which is what the nonprofit, the other committee, or 105. But the commission would approve a number, an amount, and then, to your point, a committee could recommend how to divvy that up.
Is that a motion?
But you're gonna have to have, sorry, not to raise my hand.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll get
But you have to have some sort of guidelines. I mean, if you say any school related, I mean, that is now county property, That's not just sports, band,
That's
or
right.
whatever, that's also playground equipment at
That's right.
elementary schools.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I can remember hawking wrapping paper when I was 5 years old.
I don't know if PTO paid for that or a nonprofit paid for that, but
At the schools that I went to, I know they did.
Well, actually, Ms. Bergdorf, and I'm gonna get my own cue.
When you say commission, determine an amount, you mean the bulk amount?
Correct.
You
The
said
cap.
100,000, but what you mean is like
I just-
$1 million?
Yeah,
Okay,
I just
I
threw
just want to
that
be
out.
clear.
So here's the
Not
rules.
per school.
no. I mean,
Bulk,
if we
okay.
did, we'd do $50,000 per school and be done with it.
Okay.
Here is, I'm gonna amend my motion based on that, because I think it's a good idea. So my motion is gonna be this, that, how much is in the hospital fund?
A little over $1 million.
So that we allocate, that we appropriate $1 million, the remaining from the hospital fund.
If it's not spent, the 270, whatever it is.
Whatever remains from the hospital fund, to place into an appropriation for, non-school-related, nonprofit allocations. To be determined for disbursement by the, giving committee.
Not school-related?
He's saying school-related for nonprofits.
School-related, nonprofit.
School support
School support
Okay.
organizations.
They-
Now, here's the criteria, the guidance I would give to that, in addition to it. That in order for a nonprofit to receive funds, it must show a receipt of a purchase for equipment that has become part of county property. That's my motion.
How long back? Well, how long back?
10 years.
Before you
I'm just saying,
vote.
the reason I'm harping on guidelines, because I think about White House
10
senior
years.
citizens and how.
And
that
look,
plays into
the
the
people
whole-
can amend it, I'm just.
They have to file.
10 years.
And they have to file the county application.
We don't have a second now.
That's how you get all your.
We have a motion
I
and a
have an
second.
amendment.
Okay, well, go ahead.
So I'd like to add on to what I think Mr. Long is just getting ready to say, is our nonprofit committee has to go through a process and they have to fill out an application and present financials. And that's been one of my big concerns as this rolled along, is we were not even following the minimum of our standards.
I've requested those to go with the commission pack and
Yep.
And I know
That's
Mr.
fair.
Long
Yeah,
had
that's
requested
fair.
it.
I will,
and
you
I
don't
had
have to.
I've been told we're gonna get it.
You don't have to amend, I will fold that into my.
And I'd like to underline that we get those documents before we vote, not after we vote. That's been something I've been telling Mr.
All
Long.
part of,
Well, they're gonna try to provide, on my understanding, before the resolution's sent up.
Can I,
I understand, but I wanted it
yeah,
to
no,
budget.
just to be clear,
Yeah.
that's part of it now.
can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
What have we used that hospital fund for in the past?
Oh,
I mean, because at this point, we're about to close it out and drain it.
They constructed the maintenance facility over there at the schools. Oh, I'd have to go back. We spent it on, there's $30 million of it, and I'd have to go back and look. I've got a whole list that I can send you tomorrow. What we spent the money.
386.
I'm just curious, like,
Yeah, we spent
what are we
7.5.
about to, yeah.
We spent 7.5. We had a 2.5 of local, just property tax, 7.5 of hospital fund to make $10 million that we gave to the state of Tennessee as a deposit to do the ramp from 386 to 109. That's 7.5 of it.
So it sounds like it's kind of been a catch-all throughout.
Yes, if anything, it's one-time
So-
recurring. Forward Sumner got money from it one
Let's-
time.
I'm just, this is the way my mind goes.
Shored up the insurance fund one time.
So say something like that happens, we had to shore up the insurance fund.
It's in good shape now. Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Right.
then what happens? Are we
You're gonna have to
looking at a property
take it
tax increase?
from unassigned, your unassigned fund balance is in pretty good shape. You're gonna have to take it from unassigned or remove pennies at the beginning of the year and maybe decrease debt service, but the money in the past has been used for matches for like your airport over here in Gallatin. Part of it was used for matches over here in Portland for the
I
airport.
withdraw a second.
Oh, okay. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? It may die.
I have just another.
No, we can't talk about it until we have a second. Do we have a second?
What's the?
What's on the table?
The motion was, I'll restate it, that we appropriate all remaining funds from the hospital fund to be allocated to school support organizations as dispersed by the by recommendations through the nonprofit committee up through budget, with the following conditions. One, all of the nonprofits have to submit appropriate paperwork proving their status. And two, they have to submit any receipts proving that equipment that they purchased has in fact become county property. Those are the stipulations on it, that's my motion.
Can you mean application, by the way?
Correct.
Okay, the application.
What if we use volunteer labor to build something?
I mean, we can only do so much.
Put a price on
Just-
Put a price
Good
tag on
idea.
it. Now, I mean, do we have a
Dance,
second? It may
If
die
there's
for a
dance, you have to
second.
borrow money.
Any
I'm gonna
second?
get, Mouse seconded.
All right, we have a second.
Before you
But then I
go,
wanna make an amendment.
All right, we have an amendment.
I would make an amendment of up to $750.
Okay.
from the hospital fund.
Can I discuss?
I'll second it, just, okay, then go ahead. So I'll second yours.
Is there any reason that we have to put a number on it now? Can't we send them out to do their work, to tell us how much need they find? Because we might want to go more over if we find a greater need, or we might want to go way under. Why do we set a number before we know what the, because it sounds like it's a big barrel
Well,
of fish. We don't
I
know.
gave it, we wanted to do that so that
It doesn't grow out of
so
control.
it doesn't go out of control. And so that we have.
Because this is, just this list alone is 1.2.
Yeah, and the other item here is that like with the way the nonprofit committee works now is that it has $100,000 some dollars to play with every year. And so it knows its boundaries. It's kind of like the same conversation we had around the schools earlier. It knows how much it has to allocate. That's why I wanted to give it a hard number. I seconded it.
Quick question though. Is it gonna have 750, or are you saying it might not even
It's gonna be
have?
somewhere, it's according to how much, I think it's like, was it 270?
240 or 270.
Oh, it's
Whether the
270.
Westmoreland thing
But
passes.
How about whatever's left in
Westmoreland?
it, native?
Because that one's skipping there.
No, well,
It's on the floor right now.
Because then it would be, is your
It'd be around
750,
750.
inclusive of that?
yes.
It'll have seven.
So it could be
something.
5 something.
It'll
If
have
that, if that, you
Correct.
want
So
to,
the
you want to
nonprofit-
leave $250,000 in that amount, regardless.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once
So
you
my,
do- you don't have to
my
make
thought
those
is that
big
the nonprofit committee or whatever would consider the 274 for Westmoreland.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but if it passes on the commission, then we're gonna
Correct.
do
If that
it.
passes, then yeah.
So, okay. Any other discussion on this one? All right, we're on the amendment. All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
That's the 750
That's
amendment?
the
That's
cap at
750.
750.
Capping at
Cap at
750.
Okay.
All right.
Aye.
No.
no,
We have
Wait, who said,
2 noes and we have 4 ayes. Ayes have it. Now we're on the main. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Are you
I
aye?
don't remember oh.
The main,
you know,
the main
name
is,
was your
the main
line.
is his now.
Oh, yes, yes.
So, all right, I'll do
aye.
it again. The main is his amendment. It
Yes.
passes right up. All in favor?
Is this
gonna have
in
to go.
conjunction with the budget
With,
cycle?
with all in conjunction with the budget.
Okay,
cycle.
I'm
So he wants to put a request in the original budget of
Correct.
whatever's left of the
It's
hospital.
everything I said, but only up to $750,000, inclusive of the 240 or 270 from Westmoreland.
So in other words, you wanna leave about
250 in there regardless of what happens.
We'll make it match and you make sure we got
Yeah,
it.
to clarify, if the Westmoreland gets approved in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
then that 750 would drop to
To 5 something.
5, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
5,
You wanna leave about
450.
250.
That's right. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
no.
Okay, so motion carries.
4-2.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Can I have
Second.
one comment first?
Oh,
Just one, I'll make it quick and it's just a comment because I think that this
Go ahead.
committee needs to know. If Mr. Long could address that we have additional ARPA money coming our way potentially. And I just need it on your mind. I know you don't want,
Can
but
you
they
send this,
need to
can you just send
know,
an email?
potentially.
All right.
There could be 1.8 million additional.
Yeah, see, you need to hear that.
It's reporting on the West. We're trying to see if we can. We're trying to see if we can.
Okay.